What if feeling lost in postpartum depression doesn't mean something is wrong with you, but that you've been trying to do this alone for too long? Are you wondering why nothing feels like it's helping, even when you're doing your best? And what would change if hope didn't have to show up all at once, but could come back in the smallest, quietest moments? In this episode, we're talking about what it really means to feel lost in postpartum depression and how to start finding your way back to hope through small shifts, support, and reminders that you are not alone. If today feels heavy, what if you're not as stuck as it feels? Do you want practical steps to rein in the overwhelm and start feeling like yourself again, but struggle with feeling hopeless, unsupported, and misunderstood? If so, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Stephanie, wife, mom of 4, and a 2-time acute postpartum depression survivor. I learned the secrets of how to overcome the feeling of drowning and fully thrive as a new mom through life-giving hope and support. If you're ready for validation, encouragement, and those easy practical tips, then take a deep breath in, exhale, and we'll take the first steps together. Here we go. Did you know that I have a free community of mamas just like you, new moms who are struggling to just survive, much less thrive, and are looking for hope, encouragement, validation, and support? We share life together. There's a short weekly devotion, encouraging quotes, and so much more. There's even chances to win free coffee and prizes. Come join us at bit.ly/PPD support group. Also, become an insider and get weekly emails from me with the latest episodes and even more support. Sign up at bit.ly/PPD list. There was a point in my postpartum depression journey where I genuinely started to question myself. Not just how I was doing, but who I was. I remember standing in my kitchen one day completely frozen. I had walked in there for a reason, but I couldn't even remember what it was. And instead of brushing it off, my mind immediately went to, what is wrong with me? Why can't I even think straight? This isn't who I am. Because this version of me felt so unfamiliar. I had always been capable, responsible, able to handle a lot. I had moved across the world, adapted to new cultures, navigated so many big life transitions, and now I was standing in my own home, feeling completely lost over something as simple as what I was supposed to do next. And it wasn't just that moment. It was the constant mental fog, the overwhelm of small decisions, the feeling of being emotionally flat one minute and completely flooded the next. Even basic things felt hard. Deciding what to eat, responding to a message, figuring out what needed to happen next in the day. And instead of seeing it for what it was, I internalized it. I thought, I'm failing. I should be able to handle this. Other moms aren't struggling like this. But the truth I couldn't see at the time was this. There wasn't something wrong with me. There was too much on me. My body was recovering. My hormones were shifting. I wasn't sleeping. I was caring for a newborn around the clock. And I was trying to process a completely new identity on top of all of it. That's not a personal failure. That's a system under more pressure than it was meant to carry alone. And when I began slowly to shift the question from what's wrong with me to what do I need right now, something inside me lightened. Because I didn't need to fix myself. I needed support, I needed rest, and I needed space to recover. And of course that shift didn't solve everything overnight, but it opened the door to hope. Mama, you're not broken. You're overwhelmed. When you're in postpartum depression, one of the most painful internal narratives is something is wrong with me. Why can't I get it together? Why do I feel so lost? But what often feels like being lost is actually being overloaded without enough support or recovery time. Your brain and body are doing something incredibly demanding. Recovering from birth, managing hormone shifts, operating on very limited sleep, caring for a newborn around the clock, and processing those identity changes all at once. That is not a failure of strength. That is a system under strain. Feeling lost is often not a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of how much you're carrying without enough space to recover. You might find yourself standing in your kitchen thinking, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Not because you don't know how life works, but because your mental bandwidth is maxed out. Or you might simply forget things, lose track of time, or feel emotionally flat and think, this isn't me. But in reality, this version of you is not the real you failing, it's you in survival mode. Even small tasks can feel overwhelming when your nervous system is overloaded. I'm talking very real here. Choosing what to eat, deciding what to do first, and hardest for me was responding to messages. And instead of needing to fix yourself, what you actually need is less pressure and more support. Reframing matters because it changes the question from what's wrong with me to what do I need right now to feel supported. That shift alone opens the door to hope, mama. And hope comes back in small, repeatable moments, not big emotional breakthroughs. When you feel lost in postpartum depression, hope often feels like something you either have or don't have. But hope doesn't usually return in one big, grand emotional moment. It comes back, at least for me it did, in tiny, repeated experiences of relief, stability, and connection. And because those moments are small, it's easy to overlook them, but they matter more than you might think. Hope is not built in breakthroughs, it's built in micro moments of, this feels a little easier. You might not wake up suddenly feeling better, but you do notice the morning felt slightly overwhelming than yesterday. Or you were able to shower without feeling completely drained. Or you laughed for a second at something your baby did. Or you texted someone and didn't feel as alone afterward. And individually, these feel very small, almost insignificant. But remember, they are evidence that you are not stuck, you are not static, and things are capable of shifting, even if slowly. Or maybe one night, instead of spiraling for hours, you only feel overwhelmed for 20 minutes before it passes. That's not nothing, mama. That's movement. And movement is what hope grows from. The challenge is that postpartum depression trains your brain to focus on what hasn't changed instead of what has slightly improved. But when you intentionally look for small shifts, your brain starts relearning change is possible here. And that is where hope begins to return. You don't have to find your way alone. Support is part of the healing, not a bonus. One of the most isolating parts for me was the belief that you should be able to figure it out on your own. But I don't think now that healing was meant to happen in isolation. Support is not a reward for when things get bad enough. It is part of what helps things get better. There's a reason they say it takes a village to raise a child, and in many countries of the world, it's still like that. When you're lost emotionally, support becomes your external structure until your internal stability returns. And that support can take many forms. Emotional support from being heard, practical support in the form of help with just everyday tasks, professional support providing guidance and treatment, and consistent support with ongoing connection. You don't need all of them at once, but you do need something outside of yourself holding you up. Imagine you're having a day where everything feels heavy. You're exhausted, baby's extremely fussy, you feel emotionally disconnected, and your thoughts are just spiraling. I have been there. So you text someone, today is really hard and I feel really off. That's an actual text I sent my friend. And instead of fixing it or ignoring it, they respond, I'm here with you. You don't have to carry this alone. That moment doesn't erase the struggle, but it interrupts the isolation. Or maybe you finally mentioned how you're feeling to your doctor or therapist and hear, this is more common than you think. There are ways to help you feel better. That shifts the story from, I'm stuck like this, to, wow, there's support available to me. Even one supportive connection can become a turning point. Not because it solves everything, but because it reminds you you are not alone in this experience. And loneliness is often the heaviest part of postpartum depression, not just the symptoms themselves. Let's bring this all together. If you're sick of feeling lost in postpartum depression, remember, you are not broken, mama. You are overwhelmed and carrying too much alone. Hope doesn't return all at once. It comes back through small, repeatable shifts, and you were never meant to find your way through this without support. This season is not a reflection of your worth or your ability as a mother. It is a chapter that requires care, compassion, and connection, not perfection. I'm going to say that again for myself. It requires care, compassion, and connection, not perfection. Mama, you are not failing. You are in a hard season that deserves support, not silence. And even here, even now, there is hope, and I am living proof of that. Remember, Mama, if today's episode was triggering for you and you feel you need additional help to process your thoughts or feelings, please call or text the Postpartum Support International Hotline at 1-800-944-4773. You can also find their contact information in the show notes for each of my episodes and on their website by going to postpartum.net.
Hi, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of my mom's show.
If so, would you take 30 seconds and share it with a mom friend who may be struggling to feel like herself and is in need of some encouragement today?
Also, please leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. It blesses my mom's heart to know this podcast is helping you.
Okay, time to go change a diaper and do the school run. I'll meet you back in a few days for another episode.
Take care.